Hello guys, it's the Flying Pig here on Flying Pig United with another little video for you. Today I'm joined by my brother Tom stateside for a little debate and discussion in regards to the Cristiano Ronaldo situation at Manchester United right now, and obviously the reaction to the interview that is that has been released, but also is coming out, the full-length interview, but we've seen a lot of excerpts, etc. So we're going to cover that and get into it a little bit. I'm joined by Tom. I mean, Tom, how's it going? What do you make of it all? Really, like Ronaldo doing an interview with that scumbag Piers Morgan, and saying some let's face it, some at the moment it seems like loaded comments on various different aspects of Manchester United, some in regards to the club, but some of the people in the club as well. Just what's your initial reaction and take on Cristiano Ronaldo throwing his toys out the pram?
Can I ask you one question? Why would you say throwing his toys out the pram?
Because it seems like he's throwing his toys out the pram because I guess the season's not going the way he wanted it to. In general, I guess because, we didn't get Champions League football to start with. Also, he hasn't played well at all. He hasn't been featuring maybe as heavily as he'd like. He's not been pandered to by Ten Hag. He's not been, made the focal point necessarily, had the team built around him like he has done at every other team he's been at. So it seems like this is perhaps a reaction to him being unhappy and throwing the toys out the pram.
Well, surprised by all the negativity directed at Ronaldo from, I think there's 120 seconds of clips that have been released from an hour-and-a-half interview. So 120 seconds of clips from an interview that lasts an hour and a half and people are summarizing and drawing conclusions from it. That seems ridiculous. Literally, it's just basically to get interest. Piers Morgan is a journalist and he wants to draw up interest for interviewing the biggest star in the world in any shape or form. He's just about hit 500 million Instagram subscribers or whatever it is. He's madly famous. So obviously Piers Morgan's going to do that, but we can't take anything from the interview yet other than that.
You can take some stuff from it because there are quotes from him which say things like, I don't respect Ten Hag because he doesn't respect me. Now I know context is important, but how can you say that means anything other than what it says?
How has he shown any respect to Ronaldo? How has Ten Hag showed any respect to Ronaldo?
Well, for a start, he came here late to the obviously preseason. He had a lot of personal issues going on, so they made certain arrangements, allowances for that. But also, aside from that, what about the fact that he has trusted him with the captain's armband in the last couple of weeks alone, or he let him back into the team after, let's face it, being petulant and leaving early in that game? And I mean, nobody can defend that. That's just completely unprofessional, leaving the game early, not celebrating a win with his teammates.
What does that mean? Trusted him with the captain's armband. He's won the Champions League 5 times. He's won Ballon d'Or 5 times. He's the greatest player that's ever lived, in my book. Trusted him with an armband? That doesn't make any sense. But whatever.
He's 37. He wasn't the club captain. He's been given the captaincy after that behavior. This wasn't before. So he was actually brought back into the fold by Ten Hag. Ten Hag had to punish him and discipline him, in my opinion, based on what he did leaving that game where, so he's had to punish him. He's brought him back into it and he's given him the armband a couple of weeks later as like an olive branch. Ronaldo led the team out, played poor, didn't do too well. The team wasn't good and it didn't go his way. Maybe if it went his way, it's a different scenario. It's just not been going his way. I feel like it's because of Ronaldo having a bad season, Ronaldo not being happy, that he's not playing Champions League football. But is that Ten Hag's fault? No, it's not Ten Hag's fault. He's only just come in here. So that's the biggest problem I have with Ronaldo. It's not the fact that he's said things about the poor management of the upper echelons of the club. It's that he's literally said he doesn't respect Ten Hag, whereas he's only just come in and had a few months to work. I mean, just because he's not pandering to Ronaldo and doing everything the way that he wants to, he's got a problem with that.
I'd imagine that, again, the interview will disclose a lot more information than we have currently. But I would imagine a promise. I kind of take Graham Souness's take on this, who was around as a manager for 20 years and around players and was a player for 15 years. There is no way Cristiano Ronaldo and Ten Hag did not have a conversation at the beginning of the season. There is zero chance of that happening, okay? And I've heard this this guff that Ronaldo didn't have options. There's like, okay, he may have not, been wanted by Munich or Paris Saint-Germain. There was a million clubs that would have wanted Cristiano Ronaldo to play for them. Okay,
yeah, but they happen to be in Saudi Arabia. None of the actual top clubs were prepared, or top European Champions League clubs were prepared to go in for him, though. So he was kind of stuck here. If we got a decent offer,
I don't believe that to be true at all. And certain sources have said, Graham Souness has said that he's been told that he had plenty of offers. Roy Keane said he's been told he had plenty of offers. What you're hearing in the press again, what I'd say is
he might have had plenty of offers, but that doesn't actually, that doesn't amount to the club, Manchester United, receiving an offer for a contracted player. That's the stumbling block of the problem here. There were clubs that would be interested in taking him. Would they be prepared to compensate Manchester United for an aging player who's on $500,000 a week? That's the problem. So it's not like there was loads of clubs going in to buy the guy. There wasn't.
Okay.
Nobody tabled an offer.
Do you think Eric Ten Hag and him had a conversation before the season started? Yes or no?
Well, certainly when he arrived back for pre-season, and he's obviously been allowed certain extra time off. So in regards to his plan of the season and how he's going to utilize Ronaldo, yes, but look, you've got to hold up your end of the bargain. Do you honestly think Ronaldo's been at his best this season when he's featured? Honestly, I've watched Ronaldo's whole career. He's been sensational. He's the greatest player of all time. This season, he's a shadow of himself. Whether or not that's because the team is not playing well to his strengths, or it's just him having some fundamental issues in the current system. Ten Hag trying to change some things. Don't know what it is, but he's definitely not Ronaldo who's clutching you games and taking his chances. He's looking the most unclinical I've ever seen him.
He looks a little bit out of sorts, but at the same time, when you try and bring him on with 2 minutes left when you're winning a game against Tottenham 2-0, and then you say 2 weeks earlier when you got smashed by City, I did not bring for his career, that's completely contradictory. It's so that doesn't bear any fruit as far as what Eric Ten Hag's position is or consistency is with him. They would have had a conversation. There would have been certain. Otherwise, Ronaldo would have left. I don't believe that Ronaldo.
But they might have had a conversation. But Ronaldo's got to perform. Like it's just like any other player. If you're not performing well, just because he's Cristiano Ronaldo, it doesn't mean he's got to play. You have to play well. You've got to do good stuff for the team. And what about acting out like that business where he's left early and that kind of thing? I mean, you've got to manage these big egos. Ronaldo's a huge ego, and he's clearly trying to throw his weight around at Manchester United, which is fine in terms of highlighting issues with the Glazer shithouse ownership, but it's not fine in terms of helping the current manager get a team together to actually be successful. What he's saying right now, some of what he said right now, is surely hindering Ten Hag's ability to do his work at Manchester United. Would you say that?
Yeah, I would say that, but I think that maybe he's righteous to do that, or right to do that, because Ten Hag's not held his end up at the bargain. He has said, Piers Morgan said this morning.
How do you know that, though? How do you know that?
Because
it's a two-way street, though, because Ronaldo also needs to hold up his end of the bargain.
Wait, you can't interrupt me in the middle of a point.
I mean, I can. I just did.
Piers Morgan.
This is my show.
Piers Morgan said on TalkSport this morning that Ronaldo said in the interview, and you'll hear this, it hasn't been released in the clips, that what Ten Hag is saying to the press and what Ten Hag is saying to him is completely contradictory and is not the same. He's not showing him respect in person. Well, if you're not showing the greatest players that have ever lived respect in person, then he just needs to go, which is fine. And he's even said that in a clip. He said, if they want to start with me by fixing everything, get rid of me, no problem. I love this club, no problem. Get rid of me, fine. But you've got to fix a lot of other things, which again, Ten Hag might do.
What are we thinking? How are we thinking that he hasn't shown Cristiano Ronaldo respect? How? So what? How? What's that based on?
I think he's made a promise to him that he's not followed through with.
But like I just said, you might make a promise to somebody at the start of the season, but they've also got to play well. I mean, for a start, whether it's his fault or not, which is not, by what's happened in his personal life, but he had an extended period away from the club, and so it wasn't a very good start to the season. It's taken his time to find his feet. He never has really found his feet. The other players have performed, and at certain times Ten Hag has favored certain players for certain games, maybe to press from the front with Rashi, or for a certain game. Ronaldo is 37 now. The problem with Ronaldo is he's still just that bitty big bollocks. He thinks he wants to be numero uno, number one, and he wants everybody to pander to him, which is fine when you are the best player in the world. But is he the best player in the world anymore? Based on what he's been doing this season, he's 37 now. He's a fantastic player. You don't lose that overnight. But he's obviously not the same player he was. Who could be?
He's always going to have that ego, though, and he will for the rest of his life, whether he's playing chess or table tennis or whatever. He's always going to have that ego. And all I'm saying is, I'm not sat here and saying that Manchester United are not better right now without Ronaldo. I think that when we don't play Ronaldo, we are a better team right now. I agree with that.
So Ten Hag's justified not playing him then?
I've never said that he wasn't justified in not playing, but you don't bring him on with 2 minutes left against Tottenham when you're winning 2-0. All I'm saying is that my main point here is the kind of shock that I'm having at all the reaction to 120 seconds or 180 seconds, or you've got a few minutes of clips of hour-and-a-half interview without knowing the full story, which is fine. That's why he's done it. That's why he's done it, to get all this, to drum up all this interest. But to go directly in on Ronaldo, don't know the full story, and he's obviously done this interview. He's never done this before in his career. It's not like Pogba, where and I don't mean to bring him in or other players, when every time they've gone away for international duty, they've come out with an interview every single time. He's never done this before. So, and the fact that he also says that he didn't feel supported because apparently and again, I haven't seen the full interview. I'm just going off clips like anyone else, right? But he says that he didn't feel supported because his daughter, obviously he had the daughter and the son at the same time. The son did not survive. The daughter was sick. Well, I mean, that's I can't put myself in them shoes, and I don't think, hopefully many people can't, right? But to say that, and that's hindered him in pre-season, so he does need game time, which, to be fair to Ten Hag, he's been trying to play in the Europa and League Cup, and I do agree that he is not the force, the juggernaut he once was, where he could, not only win games, he could influence games, because he it was only a few years ago, he was not only scoring the goals and he was influencing games too. Now he's not an influencer of a game, but he's still someone that, if he would have gone, and this is a mute point, but if he would have gone to Man City, which part of me, I don't wish he would have gone to Man City, but I would have liked to see an alternative reality where that happened. He would have scored 30 goals last season. He would be scoring goals this season.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. No, I don't doubt that. And I just doubt he's super unprofessional, whichever way you look at it. If you're unhappy at Manchester United and you don't want to be here and you don't like Ten Hag, you don't like how he does stuff, and you don't like the owners and everything, well, keep your head down, get your head down. And if you're actually wanted by another football club in the next transfer window, you could get a move away. Make your feelings very well known with Ten Hag behind the scenes that you are not into it and you want to leave and find me a new club, and that's it. And move on, or even some sort of mutual termination. Who knows? But do not do what he's done and publicly criticize the current manager. That's my biggest issue. I don't have an issue with him talking any smack about the ownership, the poor running of the football club, and the facilities and all that kind of stuff. I have an issue with him undermining the current manager. I mean, imagine if this had happened, I don't know, the first couple of seasons when Alex Ferguson's here. What would Fergie do in this situation? It wouldn't happen back in the day. That's the thing. It's just the ego of the current modern player, I guess, where they think that they're bigger than a football club. They can get together with an Arsenal scummer, Piers Morgan, absolute phone tapping scandal twat, and release a bombshell perfectly timed just before the World Cup to create a shitstorm, to get what he wants ultimately, which is him out of the football club. I think that's clear. I think he wants to leave the football club now. He wants to go, and this is this way of doing it. It's a dirty way of doing it, but it's definitely going to be effective because its position is now untenable. So he gets his move away in January now, probably by mutual consent, even if there's no other clubs that are going. He can go and join another club. So I just think that's what it boils down to. Yes, he maybe came here with great intentions. I think he did. He had a good season last season. He's not happy with how this has panned out, but ultimately he wants to move away from the club because it's not a Champions League team right now. He's not happy here. That's what it fundamentally is down to. And he's not numero uno at the football club either. So he wants to move.
I don't really think that the argument of current pro players are like this and that has much depth. I was comparing him to other pro players that have been a bit absurd, quite frankly. This is the greatest player that's ever lived, or one of the greatest players that ever lived. So to other pro players is a little bit different. Man United have been a catastrophe with their decision making, and they knew what they were getting here. Now, unfortunately, they knew what they were getting. They were getting the greatest player that's ever lived, or one of, on a big contract, who's the most famous person in the entire world. He's the #1 brand on the planet, okay, that comes with baggage. It just does. Now, they were, no one was complaining when he scored the last minute Champions League goals to keep us in the Champions League last year with a crap team. I mean, he's playing with McTominay and Fred in the midfield, Aaron Wan-Bissaka swinging in balls from the right.
Probably because he was the main man and the team was playing to him. Like when the team has to accommodate him, then of course Ronaldo's going to do well. But the overall team didn't do well. That's why we went from finishing second without Ronaldo to absolutely shitting the bed with Ronaldo. How does that make sense? We were a worse team.
I agree with that. I agree we were a worse team with last year. I don't think we should ever have bought him back. That's why I gave the City comparison. If we would have kept with Cavani, because of Cavani's profile being less of Ronaldo, he would have played. Now, maybe we would have been a bit short. Now, obviously, at the time we had Greenwood, which we wouldn't have had, but we weren't to know that when we got Ronaldo, right? So I think that United would have been a better team last year. I think directly, and Ollie obviously was struggling anyway, but I think it directly cost Ollie his job, Ronaldo coming back into the team, because he had a plan in place and he had to rip it up and put everything around Ronaldo, which was wrong, because even in his prime, that's not a great strategy for a team to do, not a forward anyway. And he was past his prime, still one of the best strikers in the world. Of course, he's still one of the best strikers in the world today. But yeah, the style of play and everything was just tossed out the window. And Ollie didn't really have a style of play. I mean, what we were going to do with players like Maguire and Wan-Bissaka and Fred and McTominay, we weren't going to win a title, but that's what he was brought in to do. At the start of last season, we were saying, hey, we finished second, because we did finish second the year before. Now it was a weird season because of COVID, and Liverpool had fallen off that season, injuries, etc. But we ran, we got Ronaldo, and we bought Sancho, right? that was that. Well, we finished second. Now we bought these 3 players. We're going for the title, and that's what Ronaldo came for. And that's why it frustrates me when people say to him, well, he should have said that, he should have put in his contract if we didn't make Champions League. The deal was done in a day. I mean, I know there's a lot of people working on that deal, but there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. The deal was done in one day. Obviously, it wasn't done in a day, but that's how the quick turn of City, that he leveraged City and whatever. So to go from that so quickly and to have him, just thinking, hey, I'm going to go there, I'm going to win the title, because he's a winner. He's not going to think, I'm going to go there, finish 5th. And then the season to be just a catastrophe. And then his point about Rangnick, I think that's a fair point. I don't think that's a low blow. I think it's a fair point to say, hang on, we are Manchester United and we got someone that didn't coach for 10 years. We got a sporting director. And I really like Ralph Rangnick. I actually think he could be a great coach and very successful. I hope he does really well at Austria. But to bring him in for the rest of the season at Manchester United in that scenario was insane.
Yeah, I mean,
why would you
coached? Rangnick coached like 500 games of football before coming to Manchester United. So I don't really understand that. He just hasn't coached the top European teams, but he's coached some very good teams.
Or coached he didn't coach for 10 years prior to joining Manchester United.
Maybe not, but he still has a wealth of coaching, management. So to say he's not a coach, that's not accurate. He's just not coached for a period of time. I get that, right? But the idea it was a strange appointment. He was coming in with the idea that he's going upstairs afterwards, as in he was just an interim manager, and then he was going to go into a football, directorship or some sort of football management role within the club, right? So that was the plan. He was just a stopgap. That's why the idea was there was not the right candidate available at the time. So they got somebody that can just oversee things like a caretaker until he could then go into a role where he's going to benefit the football club from, if you look at what he's done previously at clubs like Leipzig and stuff, it's obviously great stuff in terms of behind the scenes. So that's what they were thinking about there. So yes, okay, Ronaldo's right in the sense that Rangnick had some time out of the game, but he came in with a preordained job to go upstairs at the end of it, which didn't materialize because he was too brutally honest and the Glazers didn't like it. So I personally think the Rangnick criticism is just unnecessary. Why even discuss that? Why mention it? It's just a low blow to Rangnick, if anything. Yes, okay, it highlights the poor ownership and the appointments and that kind of thing. It didn't really make sense. It made sense to get Rangnick upstairs though, based on what he'd done previously. So if the manager was not available at that time, why go and get somebody like, I don't know, Pochettino or some other mug who might not be the right fit, and he wasn't even available at the time, but somebody who is not necessarily the right fit when you could wait until the summer, get Ten Hag, who might be the right fit, who might be the next generation of great manager. That is what the planning and the thinking was behind it. So
it was poor planning. It was poor planning and poor thinking again.
What he should have just done, in all honesty, in hindsight, based on what happened with Rangnick at United and nothing changing, really for the better at all, is yes, they should have just stuck with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to the end of the season, and then they'd have probably, been able to appoint Ten Hag anyway. Ole takes a back seat. Well, it wouldn't have gone any worse than when Ralph Rangnick came in.
It might have done.
So, I don't know if it would have done. I don't see how it could have done.
Listen, Ole was whipping Bambi at the end there. Michael Carrick came in here, had a good couple of games. They should have moved Ralph Rangnick straight upstairs, but they wouldn't do that because they didn't want someone telling them where they're going wrong. That was always a facade. It was never going to happen where he was going to go upstairs. They didn't want him telling them how bad they were and how poor their decision making was, because Rangnick knows what he's doing. They should have kept Carrick.
I don't think that was a facade. I think he was always going to go upstairs, but the problem is he was too real. He said in the media things like, we need 10 new players. The Glazers don't want to be told they have to spend hundreds of millions of pounds by somebody who's supposed to be working with them on the inside, and their just interest is money. So that's what happened. It fundamentally broke down, but I don't think it was a facade that he was going to go into the behind the scenes job.
It was a massive facade, and it was just poor decision by Ed Woodward, which was a lot of poor decision making. There was a lot of decisions that were made poorly by Ed Woodward, obviously, and just that's what you get when you have someone that doesn't know what they're doing in a role, a finance guy in a football role. Okay, and he always wanted his say in it, which is. I actually think that Manchester United are on a good trajectory. I think that the signings have been strong. Some of the signings have been fantastic. I like the look of Martinez, all these players.
We're not on a good trajectory.
We seem to. We're winning
as a club. We're not. That's the one thing Ronaldo is absolutely right about, because of the shithouse owners and the lack of investment in all areas of the football club. Now they spend money on the face of it to help the team, but we are being left behind in other areas. That's one thing. Just to take it back to Ronaldo, that's one thing about the Ronaldo interview that I think is great that he's highlighting, the fact that they have just completely lacked investment in this club in all areas over the years. We're being left behind.
And again, we've seen 120 seconds of an hour and a half interview. So he might call him out more, or that might be.
I hope so, yeah.
Well, maybe. I mean, I think it's easy to put the boot in there. I think there's been really poor decisions. Have they done a good job at Manchester United? Obviously not, right? The last 10 years have been almost disgraceful. Some of the decisions being made, some of the managers coming in, the wrong appointments at the wrong times. Having no director of football, or not giving managers. There's no way Jose Mourinho and Louis van Gaal had the say that they would require and want. There was always frustration. There's just been a decade of frustration. But what I would say is Ten Hag, he really does look like, I agree with Pep Guardiola when he said Man United look like they're back. He really does look like he knows how to develop players, make players better. Okay, it's a lot of managers can't make players better, which he seems to be able to.
From that sense, definitely the trajectory, of the current squad and Ten Hag, that's good. Yeah, definitely, that is good.
Has made a promise to Ronaldo and he's not followed through. To your point, it's a fair point that hey, things change and you got to hold up your end of the bargain. That's fine, but we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. We don't know the conversations. We don't know the man management that's been implemented. We will hear one side of it. We will never get to hear Ten Hag's side, because why would he put himself in that position? He's just going to say
exactly. Well, that's kind of what my opinion is. It's like we should never know about that stuff. That's why is Ronaldo doing this? We should never know about that stuff. That should be between him and Ten Hag. And if he's not happy at this football club, then let's be adults about it and move on in the next window. And, if he refuses to play, it happens all the time. Players refusing to play for their football club. So they just languish on the bench for a month or two till the next window's available. And then they get the move that they need because they forced their way out the club. Do that then. But why does he have to do an interview with that shithouse Piers Morgan and and do it publicly like this in a surprise attack? It's a surprise attack, this one. It's a surprise attack. He's like a ninja, Cristiano, on this one.
If it was with Joe Rogan, you'd be all for it. You just don't like Piers Morgan. But
I'd be more for it, but I wouldn't be for it because fundamentally what he said. Piers Morgan's not the one saying I don't respect Ten Hag. That's from Ronaldo's lips. That's what I have a problem with.
He's saying that he's disrespected me, so I don't respect him. Is that unfair?
Well, it's unprofessional, and you shouldn't be talking about this stuff.
But we want it.
He's contracted by Manchester United. Well, come on, just a week ago, he's Ten Hag's captain. How disrespected is he? How disrespected is he? He's been given game times. He's been given opportunities. Ten Hag has played him a fair amount this season, not as much as he's used to be playing. But he's definitely played a lot of games. He just hasn't played well. I don't think this interview comes out if he's had a sensational season and banging in all the goals and he's getting the man of the matches and the player of the month accolades and all that sort of stuff, because it's feeding his ego. His ego hasn't been fed for months now, and he is hungry. And he's hungry. And I love his competitive edge, his mentality, his elite mentality. He's not happy with anything but the best. And I love that. But you've still got to remain professional, and nobody should be acting out bigger than Manchester United. And that's what he's doing here. He's literally putting a line in the sand saying, no, I will not toe the line.
Well, my main point here is we haven't seen the full interview. It's an hour and a half long. So we need to wait. We will have a conversation after the interview too. United, by bringing Ronaldo back with the weak management that we had, I'm not just saying Ollie, upstairs, everything, the weak infrastructure we had, everything that was there that was poor was always going to end in tears anyway. It should have never happened this way. And I don't think, and I could be completely wrong because I don't know this for sure, and we'll know more, but we might never fully know. I don't think Ten Hag has handled the situation very well, which is fine, because I think that, ultimately Ten Hag needs to put the stamp on his team. And I think that if, this is probably necessary pain through growth, right? Everything that grows, there's some pain involved. And I think that United are going to be back on the right track very soon with Ten Hag. I just think that this is a learning experience for him. He's never been at a club like Manchester United. No one's ever been at a club like Manchester United. The media, the interest, everything. It's a ridiculous juggernaut of a club even now, even worse now, because we're not winning all the time. It's easier when you win. So, I mean, he's going to learn for this, but I think do I think he's the man for the job? So far, I think he's good. I mean, I don't know for sure yet. It's not like but he needs time, and I think that he's going to do very, very well. I actually really do.
I do, and I love his I'm not just trying to be a devil's advocate here. This is generally how I feel before any of this as well. I love how he's handled Ronaldo. I love it. He's not just accepted, just because he's Cristiano Ronaldo, he's going to be first name on the team sheet and he plays regardless. Here's our star man. No, he wants performances. He wants results. He wants the effort all over the place in training, in, behind the scenes, whether you're sat on the bench or in the starting 11. He wants you to be united in the task at hand. And if you're not, then he's not going to pander to you. And he clearly has treated Ronaldo just like anybody else in the team, which I admire. I like the fact that he's not just caved into this big ego, this big name. And he's actually basing people on performances and effort and all that kind of stuff and professionalism. Ronaldo did turn up late. It's maybe not his fault, as we've discussed. It's obviously not his fault why he turned up late to preseason. That immediately puts Ten Hag in a bit of a tricky position, because he doesn't just want to be, immediately letting this guy in when he's not even ready to play. So
yeah.
Well, I like how he handled the situation when he left the game early as well, and how he said, we're going to have to deal with it, and then he's he's suspended him for a week, and he's missed the Chelsea game, and he's punished him just about as mildly as he could do, just to make it clear that I'm the man, and we're doing things this way.
And then made him captain the week after.
And then made him captain, yeah. And so... Well, I think that he's trying to get Ronaldo, on board. Obviously, he's trying some things out. For that particular game, if you've not got Bruno and you've not got your other players that are meant to be captain, then he's a candidate for captaincy. Of course he is. It makes sense. Lead the team out for a game. You're part of the team, aren't you, Cristiano? You're one of the most experienced players here. Why shouldn't he be captain of the side? I think that's showing unity, trying to bring Ronaldo together with him and his thinking. So it's a show of confidence from Ten Hag to Ronaldo. If Ronaldo goes out there, bangs a hat-trick and leads the team to victory, he finishes with a big smile on his face and he's going to hug Ten Hag. It didn't pan out that way because he individually and collectively as a team, they didn't do the business.
Your point then was that you love the fact that He's treating him like every other player. You love the fact that on the surface, because we don't know the conversations they're having or how he's handling it, but on the surface, you love his decisions. But at the same time, you also love the fact that he made him captain a week after that and treat him.
I mean, I don't love the fact that he made him captain. No, you're putting massive words in my mouth. I never said I love the fact that he made him captain. I can understand why he made him captain because he's a good candidate to be captain. Go back a few months before Ronaldo's left the bench early. I would be saying he should be the captain of Manchester United. Much better than that Slabo Maguire melt. And he's also a born winner, born leader. And look at what he's done for Portugal and all that sort of stuff. He is a captain. He's captain material. Why is that? I mean, I don't love the decision, but I understand the decision.
You understand the decision, but it's not consistent with everything, the points you were making before about
why isn't it? Why isn't it? If you leave the game and disrespect the team, but then you've taken your punishment, you've been brought back into it. I think that's good from. I personally think it's good from Ten Hag to try and. Why would you just want to just kill this player off? Okay, so you're suspended. You're a shithouse. You're not part of the team. You're done. We'll never play with you again. Or you try and actually get this guy back on your side. Well, that's man management. That's my management. You know, sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. Maybe you got it wrong. But he's just trying to get Ronaldo united and involved with the team. That's how I look at it.
I think A, you've contradicted yourself a couple of times there, and B, Eric things that he's got a few things.
I'm making fantastic points, to be fair. I'm making fantastic points. And Ten Hag has absolutely shown, you know, good man management skills in general with the whole squad this season as well. In fact, since I would say, you know, okay, in terms of like being a disciplinarian and leading by example, I mean, there's that example where they had such a piss poor game as against Brentford, and then the next training session, he's got everyone doing a 8-kilometer run or whatever it is, you know, 8-mile run or whatever it is, which is the difference between the players and the work rates and how much they ran compared to the Brentford players the game before. But he's running with them, you know, he does the job with them, stuff like that. His leadership is I like what he's doing. He's leading by example. He's also being an authoritarian. He's making everybody pull in the right direction.
Yeah, I think he's a leader, but I love that he ran it with them, and apparently he didn't just run it; he really ran it.
Well, he's clearly not got it right with Cristiano Ronaldo. No, but is that down to him or is that down to Ronaldo? I think Ronaldo's just got way too big for his boots, and you know he's not happy with how things have gone. Sorry, bud.
How has he got way too big for his boots all of a sudden?
Because no one player is bigger than Manchester United. You come here and you help the team. Don't sign for us then. If you've got a problem with the shithouse Glazers, right? Okay, he's talking about facilities in this. Don't take their fucking money then. Don't come and play for £500,000 a week and then have a problem with it. You know, he knew what he was getting into. Don't tell me like Ronaldo just had his head in the sand for all those years that he's been away from United. He knows that the Glazers have not invested properly or not done well in terms of the other areas of the team. Everybody knows that. So why is Ronaldo now only just realizing that? I think he's using some of this as an excuse. I personally think, just to bring it back to the point, that he wants to leave, and this is the easiest way, the quickest way he can get out the door while still having opportunities to join other football teams. Because remember, if Man United want to stick to their guns and honor the contract, a club's going to have to pay off a few million for his contract, and he's on, you know, big money. Whereas as a free agent, if, let's face it, Man United and Ronaldo decide to part ways for whatever reason and they agree to a mutual termination, well, then the world is his oyster, isn't it? He can go and sign for anybody for any amount of money, anytime. So isn't that what he wants? I think this is what he wants, because now his position is untenable.
I'm sure it's what he wants. I'm sure he's manipulated the situation. Manipulation is always a negative connotation to it, but you know, people manipulate all the time. People manipulate positively. I'm not saying that this was the case. He got a lot of money to come to Manchester United. I don't think it's fair to say, hey, he knew what a catastrophe it was, because he hadn't been at the club. They finished second, and they bought Varane and Sancho before him. So he thought he was coming to win a title. That's what he knows.
He knows. He said in his thing as well, he said, oh, Sir Alex knows what's going on at this football club.
Oh, now.
Well, yeah, Sir Alex does know what's going on at this football club, and so does Ronaldo, and so does me, and so do you over the last 15 years. You know, again, it's not just now. It's not just now.
The contradiction is there again, though, because you're talking about this person with his ego. He's the savior. He's the man. He's going to come in and he's going to change things. You know he thinks that way. You know he thinks he's got the gift to everything.
Okay.
Of course, he has to.
Well, why has he got a problem with jacuzzis being out of date and the club spending 220 million in the transfer window on players to try and help the team? Like, well, I just don't understand. He's got to have I just
Well,
don't understand why he's done this. That's what it comes down to, really. I'd love to explain why he's done this. I don't understand why he's done this.
Which is fine. And let me leave you with this. You may not understand now, but again, you're talking about 120 seconds of clips from an hour and a half interview. So I just would say that before everyone just, sharpens the knives and gives their opinions too much, which we're giving our opinions all day long here, I know that. Just wait to see the full interview and
Okay.
then
I think that's a fair point. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. But also there are some barbed comments, which unless they have huge explanations to which justify it to some extent, then they seem pretty damning at this moment. I.e., that I don't respect the manager. That is a problem for me. It's a problem for me. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. I mean, it's interesting. I think Cristiano Ronaldo probably is not happy fundamentally with the fact that Man United don't have Champions League football and he is getting his records eaten up by the week. I think that's what it comes down to. And if Man United had Champions League football this season, even if we weren't doing that great, if we had Champions League football and he was scoring goals in the Champions League, I don't think this interview comes out. There you go.
Why they should have let him go in the summer. Okay. Well, yeah. All right, then.
Okay, mate. Yes, well, you got to go have your pud. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Tom. Appreciate you for getting in. Everybody, get your thoughts and opinions down below. Let us know if you agree, disagree with any of our points in this, obviously, and your thoughts and opinions on Cristiano Ronaldo, on the stance with Manchester United, who's in the right, who's wrong, Ten Hag. Do get involved in the comment section down below. Leave your thoughts. Let us know what you think about this whole shit show. I'm going to call it a shit show. I think it's a shit show. Why do this? Why air your dirty laundry in public, though? That's what I have a problem with. Do us a favor and smash that like button before you go. Drop a cheeky little subscribe if it's your first time on the channel. Click the bell icon for notifications. You can follow the website, flyingpigunited.com. You can check out the Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch at Flying Pig United.